Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Gay with God podcast, a safe place for us to share our stories and support one another. How long did we know? What challenges did we face? Did we lose our faith? When did we find our way back home? Or are we still searching? The stories you hear on this podcast will melt your heart and strengthen your belief that in God, all things are possible, and you can be authentically gay with the God of your understanding. I am your host, Midge Noble, and I am very honored that you are here. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Gay with God podcast. I am so excited to bring you back a guest that was on before, and if you'll go and check out the previous episode called Meet Envy Gay, you will find out all about Envy Gay. However, today we are going to focus more on something that Envy has created and done from her soul, and I am so proud to be one of the people on Trans Visibility Day to get this book out there. So first, let me tell you about Envy in case you didn't see the previous episode. With an immense focus on empowering and uplifting marginalized communities, photographer, digital artist, educator, public speaker, and writer, Mixed Envy Gay of Mixed Gay's creative direction draws inspiration through their life experiences as a transgender individual. Their work explores topics of the human condition, bolstered by the words and lived experiences of Envy's subjects. With intent on treasuring individualistic self-expression, Envy exposes the raw wounds of prejudice and abuse, while advocating for the inherent beauty in being human. And they do that, absolutely. And the book that we're going to focus on today is The Queer Allies Bible, the ultimate guide to being an empowering LGBTQIA plus ally. And we are here on Trans Visibility Day. So we are putting it all out there, no matter what anybody else says in the world. We love our trans brothers and sisters, and we are always advocating. Well, but probably not always. Back in the day, we didn't do so great. However, today is a brand new day, and we want to make sure that Envy tells you all about this book. So, Envy, welcome back to the Gay with
Thank
God
you for
podcast.
having me.
Oh, yes. I could not wait for this day, and I just love that you chose this day because you knew ahead of time it was Trans Visibility Day, and I thought it was brilliant. So you've already had your book launch, so tell me how that went, and just start with what made you start writing this book, and how is it going, and how are you living it into the world?
Yes. So the book launch was on Tuesday, the 25th. And we had an amazing launch party in Columbus with a bunch of people coming out to listen to me speak about it and as well celebrate the book itself. And yeah, it's been truly wonderful. So many people have reached out to me already telling me that they read it and that it's touched them and it's helping them understand how to be an ally. And that's the most important thing. So for me, this book was written particularly for my wife. When I came out in late 2018, early 2019, my wife, being the avid reader that she was, so went straight to the library and searched for anything and everything that she could find on the LGBTQIA plus community. And, she found all these different books about different genders, different sexualities, different things, but she never really found a book on what she needed to do, how she needed to help support me, what the journey was going to be like for her. And it definitely made it a little bit harder on her to try to have to figure this out by herself. And so one of the things that I really wanted to do with this was basically be able to go back in time and give it to her. Obviously that can't happen, but it's kind of my gift to her in this way of like, I want there to be this resource out there that doesn't just tell people why it's important to be an ally. I mean, there are other books out there that already do that. This book is more important about talking about not just why it's important, but how to be an ally, what you need to do, how do you need to stand up, and speak out every single day, how you to use your voice. And that's a big key for me is that, we all have different qualities. We all have different strengths.
Mhm.
So telling someone to do one certain thing as to be
Mhm.
an ally isn't going to work. We all use our voice in different ways. I use my voice through my writing and through speaking, but
Mhm.
my wife, she uses her voice through teaching, especially teaching children. There are people who use their voice through creative means like art and stuff like that. And so what I implore people to do is to figure out they can best use their voice
Mhm.
and how they can then use that voice to help the community in certain ways. I
Mhm.
mean, we have for a long time within the community asked our allies to stand up and speak up and help us out. We haven't really taught them exactly how to do it. And so that this
Mhm.
book does that. It provides the teaching, it provides the education, but it's also not a textbook. And I really wanted to make sure about that. I mean, it's very well researched. Don't get me wrong. I
Mhm.
spent a year and a half about researching the stuff for this book,
Mhm.
but it's woven in with personal narratives, with people's stories, talking
Mhm.
about how they live as an LGBTQIA plus person, what they need from people. And I really feel like that has reached out and touched a lot of people because it's this humanizing aspect of understanding exactly why their voice is needed, especially in super small towns where there might not be any queers,
Mhm.
or you might not have a queer person as a family member or a coworker. And so, why is it important to you? This
Mhm.
book goes into that and it really
Mhm.
addresses why it's so important for you to stand up and speak out.
I love that, NB, because that's exactly what I think we've always needed is not just the personal stories, but the education behind all of these steps. And the thing is that, people always say, well, I'm too old to march, or I don't do politics. And all of that has been, I mean, I never did politics. The thing is that it doesn't matter if you're political. It doesn't matter if you have a family member. It matters that you're human. It matters that you care about another human being. And if that's not true, if you don't really care about humans, then the trans community, the gay community, none of that is the problem. The problem lies back on us when we don't pay attention to what other people in the world needs. And so
Exactly.
that's what we need. We need compassion. Even though you don't understand it, you can
Yeah.
have compassion. And
You know,
compassion means that I don't walk in your shoes, but I can feel the pain that you might have. And I can understand your right to have equity and equality in your life.
very much so. And one of the points I like to address with this is that we don't have to agree with each other.
Hmm.
You know, to be able to respect each other and to show compassion to each other, we can have differences, we can believe
Hmm.
different things. That's completely understandable. For instance,
Hmm.
as a Christian myself, I don't
Hmm.
necessarily agree with Hinduism. I don't
Hmm.
necessarily agree with all the tenets and all the beliefs of Hinduism. Yet
Hmm.
I'm going to respect people who believe in that faith
Yes.
and who
Yes.
follow those practices. I'm going to make sure that those people have the equitable means to be able to practice their faith
Yes.
because that is the right thing to do, whether I agree with it or not.
Hmm.
And so, very much, if even if you're someone who doesn't necessarily agree with a man lying with another man,
Hmm.
you need to see the fact that it doesn't matter whether or not you agree with it. What matters is that you see that no matter what, we are both human. We both
Hmm.
deserve the same rights as
Hmm.
anyone else. And right now, those rights are being stripped away from us,
Hmm.
especially within the trans community. We are
Hmm.
the first pillar that will fall if we are not people don't step up to protect us.
Hmm.
And you
Hmm.
see it already all over the country in
Hmm.
several states and at the federal level. We're being attacked. I mean, the
Absolutely.
president has said so many times about how evil we are and how we need to be wiped away
Hmm.
and eradicated. I mean, it's no longer time for you to just wipe your hands of it and say, well, I don't have anyone who's trans in my life, so it doesn't pertain to me. It does
Mhm.
pertain. It pertains because it is the human rights that we are all guaranteed. And if you
Mhm.
start taking away some, more will follow. They will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because, people don't understand that Trump is not just targeting the LGBTQ plus community. You're right. He's starting with the trans community, and that started even before. I mean,
Hmm.
the amount of trans murders in the last several years is staggering, and people don't understand it or believe it, but it's staggering. And I'll get a feed that comes in almost every day. Another trans person has been murdered. Another trans person, and I'm sure that that's not the only one. That's just the one that popped into the news. So they don't understand that this administration is not just going for us collectively, starting with the trans community. Trump is also going for anyone that's not white, that speaks a different language, that has a different religion than anybody that they think shouldn't have that religion. So you mentioned Hinduism, which was a great example. They want us all to be fundamentalist white congregations with the women back in the kitchen and the babies popping out one after another and
Yep.
submitting to their husbands. The whole thing about how we're going to navigate the world with even straight women who may never hear this, but straight women who have a different name than their husband may be denied the right to vote. So
Yes.
people don't understand that when I talked about empathy and compassion and protecting the rights of everyone, sooner or later it's going to be you standing there and you're going to be the target and have the
Yep.
target on your back. But right now, it's the trans community that has the hugest target on their back.
I mean, we're easy to target. We are
Hmm.
1% of the population.
Hmm.
And there has been a concerted effort to uplift our voices over the
Hmm.
last decade. And now, because our voices have been uplifted, there are plenty of people out there who are saying, well, no, this is wrong. You guys, I mean, there are thousands of TikTok videos out there talking about people saying that there are like 25% of the population is trans or something like
Hmm.
ridiculous like that.
Hmm.
And it's not like, I mean, we are growing in numbers because more and more of us are being able to feel like we can come out and live authentically as
Hmm.
ourselves, but we're not a huge number. And that makes it very easy. It makes it very easy for us to be targeted. It makes
Hmm.
it very easy to be eradicated. And we will just be the first pillar to fall.
Hmm.
I mean, unfortunately, so many of my trans siblings are already taking action to flee the country,
Yeah.
are attempting to get out before it's too late, because we
Hmm.
see the signs, we see what's
Hmm.
happening, and we know that it's only going to get worse, unfortunately. And I
Hmm.
mean, everything I say, I would love to see Trump pick this book up and bash it publicly. I would
Oh
love to
yeah,
see him
right.
come out and talk about it and say how, blasphemous or how horrible I am as a person and how I'm preaching all the wrong things, because more people need to see just how truly hateful and spiteful he is
Hmm.
towards this our
Hmm.
community, and not just him. There are plenty
Hmm.
of people are,
Oh yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a time like, and today being Trans Day of Visibility, I don't want to necessarily harp on all the negative stuff, because today is
Hmm.
a day of celebration. So it was
Hmm.
created as a way to celebrate who we are. We have the day of remembrance. We have the day where we gather around and remember those who we lost.
Hmm.
Today is not that day. Today is the day to celebrate all that we have had gained, all the people who have been able to come out. And I just want this book out there to people so that they feel like they can they can create a world where more people can actually openly be themselves.
Hmm.
I mean, so at the end of the book, you have my memoir, which is
Hmm.
Becoming Envy. And very much in that, I talk about you know, how angry I was as a child and as a young adult, how angry I was that I had to fit into a mold of what I thought others wanted me to be, this toxic masculine mold, and how it almost destroyed me
Mhm.
because of it. And, I joke around with my wife now, like, I'm not angry at all anymore. It's been years since I raised my voice in anger.
Mm.
Like, I am just happy and I'm just able to be myself. Now, yes, traveling around, I get scared. I have to take
Mhm.
extra precautions. I have to make sure that I'm safe. But even in that, I'm happy because I'm living authentically and truly as I am. I'm
Mhm.
seen, I'm heard. I
Mhm.
have people who uplift me, who love me unconditionally. And that's the greatest thing that I could offer. And so, very much, I want people like I titled this book The Bible for a
Mhm.
reason, and not to be spiteful, not to be blasphemous. I titled it as the Queer Allies Bible because I want it to be used like the Bible. I
Mhm.
want it to be written in, highlighted, marked up, and then shared, passed around, get
Mhm.
distributed to your family. I don't want you to hold on to this book and read it once and then put it on the shelf and be done with it. No, I want this
Mhm.
book to spread. I want it to spread around. I
Mhm.
don't care how much money I make off of this book. That doesn't matter to me whatsoever. What matters to me is that it gets into the hands of those people who truly need it,
Mhm.
who
Mhm.
truly need that help, need that understanding of what it's like to be queer and how they can use their voice.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I like what you said about, passing it around and making sure that everybody gets it because that is the movement. The movement is awareness and visibility and to make sure that people know. Can so when you talk about becoming yourself and that you now aren't angry, to me that almost feels like you have this sense of peace inside your soul that was not at rest until you could finally name it and then be able to be exactly like you said, authentically you. So what was that period of time like for you? And what do you think it's like for young folks coming up now that are going through that angst of here's what the church says, this is what social, the society says. What's happening now in this climate of such outrage from the regime? What's happening for them?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear it all the time from people that it's hard to come out now. It really
Mm-hmm.
is. A lot of people are choosing to hide themselves in the closet or trying
Mm-hmm.
to keep themselves hidden, keep themselves safe. And I can't fault anyone for
I
that. I
know.
can't
I
fault them
know.
at all. Just like I can't fault my brother or my siblings who are fleeing the country.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get mad at them. They're doing what is right for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad that I have to see these people be so upset, so hurt, so in pain that they
Mm-hmm.
have to hide themselves because
Yes.
of fear of what family members might say, of what coworkers might say, of what the government might say.
Mm-hmm.
And it breaks my soul. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even still, I encourage people. I encourage my siblings to come out,
Mm-hmm.
to rise up and say, no, I'm not going to hide in the face of fear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stand tall. I'm going to be who I am
Yeah.
despite what you think. And it really dawned on me after I came out and I came back to finding my faith. I had lost it completely,
Mm-hmm.
especially after hearing so many pastors condemn me for who I was
Yeah.
and call out the evil sins and atrocities of homosexuality and transgender. And while committing such a horrible sin themselves.
Yes.
Like, and it just was. I mean, I lost my faith because of it. And what
Mm-hmm.
brought me back around was one pastor in particular who met with me and didn't quote me Bible verses.
Mm.
Didn't. try to convince me with the written word, because very much what he said was that the Bible itself was written by man and has been interpreted by man and has been changed by man. What he talked about was the prevailing faith of understanding the creator and our place in the universe, our place on earth, and our purpose here. And our purpose is not to condemn others. It's not to put others down. It's to live us in the same path that Jesus lived. And when you look at the path that Jesus lived, he never condemned anyone.
Mm-mm.
He always uplifted anyone that was around. He would wash the feet of the beggars. He would dine with prostitutes. He would be with the worst of the worst people and was killed for it.
Mhm.
And very much we look at that and we say, that is how we live. We live by uplifting each other. We live by empowering each other. We don't live by putting others down,
Mhm.
by condemning others because they live differently than us.
Mhm.
And that's what brought me back around to my faith. And yeah, I mean, all the research I did, and especially there's a whole chapter written about Christianity in the book,
Mhm.
but it doesn't really matter what the Bible says because it has been changed, it has been distorted. Anyone who tells you that it is the exact word of God is just bullshitting you. Like, it's not. I'm sorry that God
But
did
you're
not
right.
write the Bible exactly how it is today. No.
Yeah. And it's not what the Bible says as much as what doesn't the Bible say. And
Yeah,
Jesus
the
never
Bible
said
isn't
anything against homosexuality.
exactly. I mean, the Bible is a educational text of stories,
Yep.
of inspiration on how to live, how to be a good person, what to do. Like,
Mhm.
it's not a weapon to condemn, to punish, to harm
Mhm.
others as it's been
Mhm.
used for so long.
Yeah.
And that's why so many of my brothers and sisters and siblings do not have faith, and I
Right.
can't fault them for it. And so
Right.
very much when people ask me, like, how in the world are you a Christian and
That's right.
trans? I laugh and I'm like, that's a great question. Like,
Yeah.
it's one that I have a very universal sense of what faith is. And very much, I don't necessarily adhere fully to Christianity.
Mhm.
I take a lot of tenets of Judaism. I take a lot of tenets of Buddhism. One in particular that I love, Buddha, when speaking to his followers, said that there's not one path to enlightenment. There are 44,000 unique paths to finding enlightenment. And while that number was just arbitrarily made up, it's it's a great example of showing that there's not one perfect path to take to getting towards heaven, to getting to the goal. Each path is unique for each person. Each person's looks differently. One of the worst things I hated growing up was when pastors would answer my questions about who's in heaven, and I would say, "Is Muhammad Gandhi in heaven?" And they'd be like, "No," and I'd be like, "What?" And they're like, "Well, he wasn't Christian, so he didn't have faith in Jesus, and he had the chance to, become a follower of Christ, but chose not to, so therefore he's condemned to hell." Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's no way that you can condemn a person who does such good for the world
Mhm.
to hell simply because he
Mhm.
has a different understanding of religion, of
Mhm.
faith.
Mhm.
No,
Yep.
it's about our actions. It's about how we treat others. It's about what we do for this world to uplift,
Mhm.
empower, and
Mhm.
serve others,
Mhm.
not whether or not we had some water sprinkled on us and
That's
told that we are a Christian.
that's right, because religion is a man-made thing anyway.
Exactly.
Jesus wasn't Christian. Jesus
Nope.
was Jewish, people. So, yeah, that blows it up right there, that the Christian denomination was based out of people not agreeing with the original whatever faith started it all. I think Catholicism, but but like you said, I mean, Buddhism, you look at Lao Tzu, you look at Mahatma Gandhi, you look at Jesus, they're all preaching the same thing. They're preaching love,
Mhm.
compassion, empathy. So it doesn't matter what you call it. It, like you said, it matters what we do. And if we're living outside of loving each other and having compassion for each other, we're all out of bounds. Doesn't mean that we're all going to hell, but it means that we've missed the mark. And we may be in a little shack instead of the big house. I don't know.
To say there's a TV show that I absolutely love for it, The Good Place.
Oh, I've seen that
Um,
before.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love its interpretation of
Yep.
how to access the good place. And while, I mean, it goes through the whole journey of like
Yeah.
it being messed up and rigged and whatever,
Yeah.
but like what is so beautiful about it is that it truly represents what religion should be.
Yeah.
You earn points based upon your actions, whether negative or positive, and how others receive those and what good it puts out into the world. And based upon that, you reach a certain threshold. Like it's such an simplistic way of looking at it, but honestly, it's such a correct way of looking at this thing. And while there's not necessarily angels up there calculating our points and making sure that we reach a certain threshold, what matters is that when we stand before the Creator on the day of judgment, we're given our life, and we have to, we have to explain ourselves, explain our actions. How will you feel about your actions? How will you be able to stand up there and talk about your stuff? And don't get me wrong, I've done plenty of shit that I will definitely stand up there and be embarrassed about, that I will wish I had never done. There are plenty of things that I wish I can go back and change.
Yeah.
But moving forward, I keep that in mind, that my purpose here is to uplift, to empower, to serve others, not to seek glory for myself.
Beautiful. Is there a part of your book that you want to share with folks today? Something that resonates with you that you would love to share? And I'll pause for a minute and give you time to pick
I
that
actually have
out.
one picked
Oh,
out
yeah. I'm so proud of you. We didn't even talk
because I knew
about
you
this
were
one.
going to ask this. All right. So, one of the things I get asked a lot is how to handle hate.
Oh, good.
And
Yeah.
that's a very good thing, a very
Yeah.
good question, a very hard one to answer. And so, I want to talk about it here.
Okay.
I am often asked, how do you combat all the hate towards the LGBTQIA plus community? This is an excellent question, and it took me a while to develop an answer. It was only after I examined my past and how I myself used to behave towards the LGBTQIA plus community that I began to understand why people can be so hateful. In general, hate towards an individual or a community does not just appear, but is born through a person's lived experiences. Sometimes hate is learned, passed down from generation to generation. People learn behaviors and negative feelings from their parents, religious institutions, or even from their teachers. Often, other times, hate comes from trauma, where an individual expresses hatred towards others because of something that they have had happen about themselves or something that they hate about themselves. Let us begin with learned hate. This comes from the message such as, we do not like a person or community because they. These type of statements can be difficult to refute, for they are typically instilled in people from a very young age. This hatred seems so illogical, unfounded, and very threatening to its victims. Attempts to reason with its proponents are usually dismissed. Too often, people who say these things are dismissed or called ignorant. That only deepens their hatred. You cannot fight hate with hate. You have to combat it by giving these individuals the same love that you would like to receive in return. This can be extremely hard and can seem like it's not working. It will take time and patience. Engaging in calm conversation with these individuals can help. Shouting facts at them will never work, but sitting down and having an honest conversation might. Talk to them about their beliefs and then share your experiences. A lot of the time, these people have never had a real conversation with an individual of the group that they hate. Share your experience and engage with them about theirs. Treating others the way you want to be treated is always a strong strategy in overcoming hatred.
Well done. So when you read that section, I can't help but think about putting MAGA and one of us in the same room. And that's kind of what we're up against. We're up against us also being called to look at someone who's trying to harm us and also try to generate that love from inside. We're asking them to do it. We fear them, or they, no, they fear us and we fear them because of we're polarized. And you're right. If we come together and we actually have a conversation outside of what we're freaked out about, a lot of times we find common ground that we don't even know we have.
Yeah. I mean, it's humanizing. That's the big
Uh-huh.
word that we have to remember. And
Yes.
it's humanizing on both sides.
Yes.
I seek to be humanized. I seek to be seen. I seek to be heard. But the big
Hmm.
thing is, I need to humanize my opponents as well. I need
Yeah.
to look at them as the humans that they are and see the trauma that they have experienced, see the hatred that has boiled inside of them, and hear them.
Hmm.
When I sit down with people who completely disagree with me, I don't throw out facts and figures. I don't throw
Hmm.
out numbers. I don't try to sound like I'm smarter than them.
Hmm.
I listen to them. I ask them, why is it that you feel this way? Where did you
Hmm.
learn this from? Can you talk to me about this? What
Hmm.
happened? And when you break it down and you really have a true conversation and you speak from your experiences and you listen to theirs, you begin to realize that we aren't actually that different
Yeah.
after all.
Hmm.
There are just certain things that have happened in each other's lives. I mean, I hear a lot of these people and it's like, my goodness, you felt the same way I did.
Hmm.
For years I hated the community. I had my last name Gay is my family name. I was born with that name and I hated it. Hated it
Hmm.
because I was mocked. I was
I bet.
put down all the time as a child. And so I sought to fight back. I
Hmm.
sought to, rebel against that name and therefore would openly mock gay people, would put down people, would advocate for the removal of queer rights. And it was only when I finally sat in therapy and had someone listen and hear what I was going through and hear the pain that I was in, did we begin to unravel this whole idea that I was in such pain and I was in such a regret about who I was, that I was
Hmm.
taking it out on others.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that goes on everywhere. And
Hmm.
so I don't seek to blame someone. Even Trump. I mean, if I were given the ability to
Hmm.
sit in a room with him and listen and talk with him openly, I
Hmm.
would. Would
Hmm.
I be given that chance? I doubt it. But I will seek to humanize and uplift everyone,
Hmm.
regardless of whether or not they'll do the same for me.
Right. And I really appreciate you saying that. And I appreciate you know, the journey that you've been on. As we've been talking about this for several weeks now at the Gay with God podcast about being able to pray for your enemies, being able to be in that place of compassion and love. And just this morning, I was talking to someone who's really, really struggling, and she's a friend of mine. And she said, I know I should be trusting God. And I said, well, I don't think we should be doing anything. I said, even the apostles were martyred. I said, so, when somebody says to me, trust God, just have faith, it's not about my faith. It's about being able to know that God may be present with us now in all of these atrocities that we're living through and all the dark corners of the world that we may be headed. And yet, God's with me. That doesn't mean I'm spared. The trans community is not being spared, even though God is with us. It's not that. It's that, faith is hard and following Christ has always not ended well for people.
It's a difficult path.
It
It
is a
is a
difficult
very
path.
difficult path.
Yes,
Christianity was never meant to be easy. It
that's
was
right.
never meant to be something that you can just sit back and watch the world go by.
That's right.
It is
Right.
a very, very difficult path. And trust me, I wish I could go out there and spew hatred and
Mm,
towards my enemies. But that's the thing. I don't have any enemies.
mm,
As Christians, as humans, we shouldn't have enemies.
hmm.
We have neighbors. We have loved ones. We have
Mhm.
friends. We have coworkers. We have people around us. Nobody is actually our enemy. We it all comes back to this narrative that for so long we have sought to combat evil. We have sought
Mhm.
to remove Satan, remove the
Mhm.
demons in the world. And to do so, we've attacked people for being different. We've
Mhm.
attacked people for believing something different or having a different action or
Mhm.
whatever. I mean,
Mhm.
it's always happened in the name of expelling Satan.
Mhm.
How in the world does that mean? I mean,
Mhm.
we're you really want to expel Satan? You want to expel hate? Stop being so discriminatory. Stop being so prejudiced.
Right.
Just love. Show love and compassion in this world. Violence does not beget violence.
And it's got to start with inside of us.
Yes.
We're the only one that can change us and put ourselves out into the world the way that we're supposed to do it. And we're always, aren't we always looking to clean up everybody else's porch instead of, remember people, stay on your own porch, generate love from there. But it's got to come from within us. Well, you might just be a preacher. I think you need to look.
It's funny that you say that. I do every so often do guest sermons at
There
different
you go.
churches all around, and I'm
There you
always
go.
open to that. Any church that wants to bring me in to speak, I'm all for it. I
Yep.
do that. It is funny because I've never necessarily looked at myself in this facet.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been an educator. I went
Mm-hmm.
to undergrad to be an educator. I was a middle school math teacher before coming out and transitioning. And being a teacher has never left me.
Right.
While my classroom has gotten a lot larger,
Yeah.
and the students that I teach a lot older,
Uh-huh.
I still focus on that educating, that
Yep.
being that teacher that beloves the art of teaching,
Yep.
beloves providing education, not necessarily seeking, self glory or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but doing the work to help others.
Yeah.
That's how I've always seen myself as a teacher. And it's the same thing I do whenever I stand in front of a business and talk to them about allyship, or I stand in front
Mm-hmm.
of a congregation and preach to them about faith. No
Mm-hmm.
matter how I use my voice, it's always the same.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Jesus was a teacher. He
Yeah.
was teaching all the time. And so it wasn't really sermons, it was teaching. And I think that's brilliant. And you are
Yeah.
a great
And
advocate. Go ahead.
well, thank you. And very much, it's not about, being like me. I want people to
Mm-hmm.
understand that. You don't,
Mm-hmm.
like when I say use your voice, it's not
Mm-hmm.
the same way as I am.
Right.
Very much, I people ask me why I do this life, and I do it so that others don't have to.
Mm.
I am the educator, the advocate, the person out there so that my trans siblings don't have to be. I want the trans sibling who is a computer programmer to just be a computer programmer, for
Mm-hmm.
their transgender identity to not matter to the world, that they're just seen and heard and being who they are. They don't have to be the educator. They don't have to be the advocate. Because don't get me wrong, this is exhausting. It is
Mm-hmm.
exhausting to
Mm-hmm.
do this. It's
Mm-hmm.
exhausting to always constantly be teaching people, but I
Mm-hmm.
love doing it, and so I will do it. But just because someone's trans, someone's queer, does not mean that they will necessarily have the spoons to be able to educate you or want
Right.
to educate you.
Right.
You, as an ally, need to go out and educate yourself. Seek the source. Go out there and listen to the people who are being marginalized.
Mm-hmm.
Go out there, hear their stories, uplift their stories. The greatest thing I tell people with this book is, you know, take it to your church, pass it around, and open a door for me to come in and speak. Open a
Mm-hmm.
door so that I have the platform to be able to provide that education. Because
Mm-hmm.
without your help, I would never be able to do it. I would never be able to get my foot in the door.
Right.
But with your help, I can get my foot in the door and I can provide that education that everyone needs.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
very much, if you have the ability, this is your task. If you find you have the ability, to purchase multiple copies. Please do. Not to help me, but to help everyone else around. I tell people, if you can, purchase multiple copies and send them to your
Right.
representatives, your local, your state, your federal representatives. I've had people tell me they're mailing copies to Trump. Do it. Do it.
Yes,
Mail
absolutely.
copies to anyone and everyone if you have the funds. If not, of course, don't do that. Go to
Right.
the library. Your local library should have this book. If they don't, chastise them
Request it.
first and then
Request
request it
it.
and
Yes,
tell
you
them
can
to get
request
this
it.
book and get multiple copies.
Yeah.
But I mean, go out there and help spread this word. And that's the best thing that we can do for each other. It's the best thing we can do to help uplift this very, very marginalized community that without your
Mhm.
help will be eradicated.
Yes. And the other thing that you can do is to go to your brick and mortar bookstores if they're still there in your community and request it. If you get a
Yes,
lot
please
of
do not buy
people,
on Amazon.
yeah.
If you have to buy on Amazon, buy on Amazon and then review the book. That will help me a
Right.
lot. I need
Oh,
people to
yeah.
review it on
Yeah, yeah.
Amazon and on
Yep.
Goodreads.
Yep.
But um, go to your local independent bookstores.
Yeah.
Talk to them. Ask them if they have it. If they don't have it, they can easily get it.
Yep. Yep.
It's distributed worldwide. I mean, even if you're in Zimbabwe, you can get the book. So request it. Go out there, shop local, shop queer, and you know, help support those businesses.
Yeah.
Like Amazon does, they got enough money already.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and the other thing is that, when you're requesting that at your bookstore, that means that the more people you can get to go to the same bookstores and request it, they probably will provide several copies. And somebody's going to be walking through that bookstore and need that and not know that they needed it, but it'll be there and present. If it's not on the shelf, nobody's going to find it in the same way that when we get it on the shelves. And so it's going to be very important.
Yes.
Well, Envy, I just love you. I think that you are the brightest light in my life since we've met. I just love this whole thing of knowing who you are and knowing how you've come into being. And I can't wait for my copy to. I had to stop my mail because I went out of town to our little sacred place up in the mountains, and then it takes a while for things to come through. So I'm sure my book is in the mail and it's coming today. I can't wait to start it. And I
Yes.
love you.
I
Is
love
there
you too.
is
And
there
thank you.
anything that I have not asked you or that you haven't said that is you think is important to put out there before we end today?
I am going to use the words of my pastor,
Okay.
Pastor Marcus at North Broadway United Methodist Church. For some, love is a stranger. So in you, might they find the love of a true friend.
Oh,
So thank
beautiful.
you so much for this. Anyone who's listening that wants to reach out, please do contact me. You can do it on any of my social media pages. You can do it on my website, www.mxgay.org. You can reach out to me there. You can leave a comment. You can ask a question. You know, just want to talk to me, please do it. I love talking to people. As long as you don't just say hi, I'll answer. Like you tell me what you're commenting about, then I will
Yep,
answer you. But
that's right.
yes, please check out my Instagram page, nv.gay, my TikTok, nv.gay, all that stuff. TikTok's fun right now because the video I have that's getting some traction has quite a lot of hate messages on it,
Ooh,
which are so comical.
I know, right?
Let me tell you, my
Okay.
favorite one on there was someone commented queer.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, duh. Of course I'm
Was that an
queer.
insult?
Like, I'm sorry, the whole book is called the Queer Allies Bible. Of course. Like, thank you. Yeah, you got the point of the message here.
There's
Yeah,
a sharp one in
it
the
was
toolbox.
just I've just found that one to be too hilarious. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, like reach out and ask me questions, talk to me, tell me how this book meant to you, review it,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and please share it.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I'm just thanking you for being here and for being so open and honest and for writing this book and putting your heart out there and your soul out there for those who need it. And guys, you can also go to empoweredmidge.podbean.com to find all of Envy's links to social media, and you can find them there. All right. Also, check out our Facebook group, Gay with God. We do a monthly Zoom group entitled My Faith Journey. If you need support to help you through your coming out or faith journey, go to the show page at empoweredmidge.podbean.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, and see how you can connect with me. And for those of you who have actually done this, I mean, I say this every week, but people are actually beginning to hear it, and they do contact me, and we do have a session, and it's complimentary, and sometimes that will add more sessions, and sometimes it's just a one and done, and we get to meet each other and have a wonderful conversation. So I just want you to know that you're not alone. I want you to know that in this time of darkness, there are so many bright lights out there, and we're still shining. It may take a while for our rays to get to you, but we're out there and we are available. Envy's available. I'm available. If you need a conversation, reach out. We're right here. And if you are listening to this podcast and are questioning whether you can be gay and be in a relationship with the God of your understanding, if you identify as LGBTQI plus, or not even sure if you're gay, God has always been within you, even when you didn't know it. You have always been gay with God. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned and see how you can join the Gay with God community. And as always, you are loved. I want to invite you to become a part of the Gay with God community. How can you do that? Stay connected by messaging me your thoughts and comments in the comment section under the downloads of the show on the Gay with God show page. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen and share so we can increase our community outreach and be a light to those who are struggling to claim their faith. Consider being a sponsor so I can highlight your service in our community. We are all worthy of respect and a relationship with the God of our understanding. I want to thank you in advance for supporting this podcast. Together, we as a community will keep this show visible and our community stronger. Deep gratitude to my friend Tim McClendon of Tim McClendon Music for allowing me to use an excerpt from Interlude 4, a song found on his CD entitled Sundance.